So this is our second segment on making kids more successful in the 21st century. And one of the things another topic that we wanted to bring up was languages. Um,
Languages. Where can we start with that one? Let's just start with English first. And I'll admit it's a pet peeve of mine because that was my background in education. But I'll just say this. Do you have to be the next great author or wordsmith? No. But be able to have a basic command. First off, be audible. Don't be audible where people can hear you. Second, identify the vocabulary that you know, so you can showcase I have an understanding of something. Mm-hmm. You don't always have to use, the exact verbiage. I remember what I would tell kids in the classroom is even if you can't remember the word, describe the concept, so these people know that conceptually you understand what you're doing. Because and don't act like I remember the television show Living Color and Damon Wayans' character that was incarcerated and he was just using big words. Yeah, but he was misusing them. And don't use big words to sound like you know what you're talking about because you're going to showcase what you don't know. Right. I mean, use a vocabulary that you're comfortable with. And I would say if you don't know the exact verbatim, at least be able to describe the concept. The vocabulary will eventually come. But be audible and just have a basic command.
Yeah, when I was growing up, I grew up in New York. I lived in the Bronx and I lived in Queens. Shout out Cedric Avenue and Cambria Heights. Sorry. But I had two ways of speaking. There was a way that I spoke to my friends in the streets when I was outside. And then there was a way that I spoke in the house because my mother did not allow me to speak in proper English or to use slang in the house. And that same way that I spoke in the house is how I had to speak in school. So in school I spoke one way, at home I spoke the same way, and when I was outside hanging with my friends, I spoke a totally different way.
But you know what? But that comes with understanding your audience. So in a professional setting, try to use as much of the professional verbiage that you can. But again, if you don't know enough of the verbiage, at least be able to explain the concept so people know that you have an idea of what you're talking about. When you're hanging out at like the family cookout or whatever, or with your friend, it's totally different. You might use a little bit of everything depending on the topic, but know your audience. Another thing about knowing your audience, and this is definitely for people that do have this high level command of vocabulary, you still have to make sure you're talking with people. And I think sometimes we forget that because we want to showcase how bright and brilliant we are. But in doing that, we're speaking over our audience.
It's a turnoff.
It is, because then it makes you look rude.
Arrogant.
And so
a whole lot of other things.
Be able, like you're saying, be able to speak with, if you can speak with people and have just enough of a command to where people can follow what you're talking about, it can go a long way in business, whatever.
And while we're thinking about business, again, if you want your kids to be more successful for the 21st century, your kids need to learn how to speak another language. And I don't mean, taking years of taking language in school. Like, they need to become immersed in a culture and learn another language. The United States of America is one of the few countries where people learn to speak English, and English it is, and English it does. My relatives that live in Costa Rica speak at least 2 or 3 different languages. They'll speak Spanish, English, German, or French, or something else, but they know how to communicate in case they go travel and go to other places. It's the right thing to do. In this country, I feel like we want people to come here, speak English, and we harp on that, and then we go to other countries, and the first thing out of our mouth is, "Do you speak habla inglés?"
You make a good point. Even though English is becoming more global, you do have to show a sign of respect and decency. And even in this country, think about what's the fastest growing demographic. It's people with Spanish speaking background. So it would behoove you to learn a little bit of conversational Spanish. I mean, even if you can do basic things like asking what's your name, what time is it, where are things located, just basic things, that can go a long way.
Yeah, people are more likely to help you when you at least show that you tried.
When you're trying and making an effort, you're showing that you respect the language and you respect the culture. And that's another thing. One of the things we were talking about is even within countries of Spanish-speaking background, there are differences. So, for example, like for younger kids, depending on the country that they're from, it's disrespectful for them to make eye contact. I know in the U.S. it's all about eye contact.
Right.
So one of the things you learn, like you said, as you immerse yourself in a language, you get a basic understanding of the culture. So the cultural norms in Guatemala are going to be different from Mexico, or different from Colombia,
Different
or
from Spain.
Exactly. And even some of the ways that Spanish is communicated, there are some universals, but then there's, varieties. Just like in this country, the way people talk in the Northeast is going to be a little bit different than people from the Southeast or the West Coast. So those are definitely some of the things you just want to think about and ask yourself, and just get more information. Again, you don't have to be the greatest at it, but have a working idea. And like you were saying, when people see you're making an honest effort, people are going to basically make an honest effort back.
Yep, definitely. We will be back with more of how to make your kids more successful in the 21st century.